I am very honored today to accept the Mother Eagle Award from Christian Feminism Today and Q Christian Fellowship. I thank you, especially to everyone who organized this conference and made this possible. I bring you greetings today from my wife of 41 years, Paula Shaneweather, and from Suncoast Metropolitan Community Church in Venice, Florida, where I am the co-pastor. I'm very humbled to follow Dr. Virginia Ramey Mollenkott, whose theological writings and personal witness were water in the desert 40 years ago. Virginia's courage, authenticity, powerful public articulation of biblical feminism inspired all of us to search, to preach a liberating word year after year. And also Bishop Flunder, a dear friend and colleague, who is a fiery testament to the marriage of passionate African-American Pentecostalism, feminism, and womanist theology. She continues to give her all for justice, and it is always good to be in her company. Both of these women have been sisters in the movement and sisters and partners in the work of Metropolitan Community Churches, where I have served for 46 years. MCC's first feminist publication in the 1970s, in fact, was called Mother Eagle Review, and so I am even more touched by this award. I remembered the Evangelical Women's Caucus founding in 1973 when I was a 23-year-old MCC pastor. I remember the standout courage and the ways in which you reached across differences to embrace Christian feminists ecumenically. Your early leadership in insisting that the Bible and Christian faith mandated radical inclusion of LGBTQ people changed hearts and minds, and was a driver in a movement that was still so young and fragile. Your work helped me when I became the first open lesbian to speak at the Women's Tent at the World Council of Churches gathering in Canberra, Australia in 1991. The women's community within the WCC was a powerful force for change, but opening to me and to MCC was challenging even for them. After the workshop concluded, as I left the tent, a group of fundamentalist Christians confronted me, and one man spat at me with fury. I will always carry that look of absolute hatred with me, asking what kind of hurt and what poisoned him so much to do something like that. Even then, I knew I didn't deserve it, but even today there are some who are not so sure. The body of work that you fostered has made possible the flowering of a broader consensus that is building decade after decade, overthrowing patriarchal assumptions about gender and sexuality and the divine. Your work that began 45 years ago made possible the Q Christian Fellowship and so much more. I think of all the theologians, scholars, and those who teach and write at seminaries all over the world who have been influenced by you, whether they acknowledge it or not. On a personal level, the Evangelical Women's Caucus was a lifeline to so many who needed hope, fellowship, and encouragement. Not only did you fight for feminist values in a Christian cultural context that was often so hostile, but you also saved the lives of women and some men who struggled and suffered under the weight of oppressive theologies. You fostered friendships that have endured for a lifetime. When I think of the work that Metropolitan Community Churches did with the U.S. National Council of Churches of Christ and the World Council, I give thanks that we had partners like the EWC as we challenged the church's theology and politics. Today, of course, we are in another crisis of authenticity for the Christian church in the U.S. in particular. If we are to live into your theme, love undivided, we must open our hearts to those whom Jesus loves. Among the desperate caravan of asylum seekers at the southern border of the United States are LGBTQ persons, many of whom are persons of faith, who carry an extra weight of marginalization. I might paraphrase Dr. Mollenkott and say, is the asylum seeker my neighbor? Progressive evangelicals, all Christians, people of faith, need to be rallying to the most vulnerable among us today, those in prison, children in detention separated from parents, those addicted to opioids that made huge profits for drug companies, African Americans who wonder if Black lives matter, LGBTQ kids and young adults who are still vulnerable to conversion therapy in 36 states in the United States. Our planet is crying out for us to save the oceans, air, and land, and to undo the damage of fossil fuels. Decades from now, people will look back and ask what the followers of Jesus, especially those who claim to be liberationists, were doing when our country faced such crises of compassion and dignity. The church needs our voice, our passion, to resist being co-opted by the forces that would undermine the values of Jesus in the name of political power, greed, or bigotry. My prayer as you meet is that you will be bold in speaking out and acting for justice and hope, and not isolate the issues of LGBTQ justice from all of the things that impact those in this room and those who are not in this room. So much depends on your courage. I say this to you as a child of that mother eagle who hovers over us all with love undivided. Again, thank you for this special honor.